of Iraq or Afghanistan, like me, coming home can be harder than expected. I felt a little out of place, but it turns out I wasn't alone. At IAVA.org, there's a free online community of thousands of OIF and OEF vets who've got your back here, just like they did over there. So now, I'm never alone. I can get the resources I need and talk to tons of people who understand where I'm coming from.
Whether it's navigating the GI Bill,
or VA hospitals,
managing the transition home, or meeting people you can share stories with, you'll find it at IAVA.org. Even if it's just everyday stuff.
Like getting tips on where to find a nice sweater for my dog.
Did he just say that?
Really?
What?
Okay, maybe not that, but everything else. No matter where you are, Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America is there for you. Join our community at IAVA.org.
We've got your back.
Brought to you by Iraq Afghanistan Veterans of America and the Ad Council.
This is Al Sharpton. I'm keeping it real on WGCV 620 AM, KC, Columbia, where knowledge is power.
Hello, everyone. This is Armstrong Williams on the right side.
Armstrong.
Don't curse, speak English.
Armstrong.
Virtuous society.
Armstrong.
I dare you to listen.
Hey, turn it up. Hey. Armstrong. Get on the right side. Armstrong.
Elevate your mind.
Armstrong.
I'm Armstrong Williams on the right side.
Yo, man, it's your boy K.O. And you're tuned in to the most conservative of our brothers.
The Armstrong Williams Show. Please give me a break. Grow up.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this very special edition of the Armstrong Williams broadcast. We're live today on the heels of the State of the Union, which we covered last night. It was a long night. There have been many pundits and their takes on the President's State of the Union. It would be interesting to hear our audience call in and weigh in on this conversation to tell us, what is the state of your union? What is the state of your household? What is the state of your life? What is the state of your welfare? What is the state of your health? What is the state of your community? Do you feel safe? Has this president moved us forward? And the question of the hour today, has President Barack Obama earned 4 more years of leadership? Do you think that he has done the kind of job that he's deserving of 4 more years at the helm as the chief executive officer of the United States of America, which is the most important and most powerful CEO position in the world? You know, we read about Wall Street executives and executives all across the country where they get these magnificent bonuses, sometimes 40, 50, 60, 70, $80 million a year because of performance. If you were giving President Obama a performance bonus, how much money would you give him? I know it would be more than $50, more than $50,000, more than $100,000. Would it be $1 million, $20 million, $30 million? Does the president deserve a pay bonus? And does he deserve another 4 years in the White House? That is the question of the hour. 733-562-01866-620-6620. That is the question that we ask our listeners, is whether or not the president has earned another 4 years in office. The most touching aspect of last night's State of the Union for me was Gabrielle Gifford. You know, you almost feel raised that some incaput, some mindless individual with their hatefulness would just take a gun and mow down a 9-year-old girl, a senior citizen, and then just shoot Representative Gifford in the head for no reason at all, over politics, because you disagree with them. To see her today, after last night, to officially resign, because everybody knew she could not be normal again. She paid such a huge price for serving this country, and it, to me, is such a tragedy. I mean, a person like that, they should skip trial and everything else and just quarter and draw them. Quarter and draw. Absolutely is what they should do. That's exactly what should happen. I behead them. I hang them. Let it be a national televised hanging. That's what we should do. That's the kind of message that we should send. But you know the question of whether or not President Barack Obama has earned another 4 years at the helm. Does he deserve another 4 years? And whether or not, if you were doling out a bonus for the president, what amount would you pay him? Let's ask our very special guest commentator who joins us every week at this time, Logan Delaney. Welcome, Logan. Welcome back to the broadcast.
Well, thank you very much, Armstrong. It's a pleasure to be here as always.
Logan, first of all, has the president earned 4 more years as the CEO of the United States? And if you were giving him a bonus, what amount would you give him based on a rhetoric versus results? We know they can give out the rhetoric, but we want to base it on the results. Let us hear from you.
Well, Armstrong, I evaluate the CEOs who run my companies every year. And I've been doing it for 25 to 30 years. I've done it for different types of companies. And what we do is at the beginning of the year, we sit down with the CEO. I do it as chairman of the board, and in consultation with my board. And we say, okay, what are the things that we think should be the objectives for the upcoming year? What's important? Do you want to grow sales? Do you want to increase profits? Do you want to add to your product line? Do you want to do an acquisition? Do you want to take cost out of your product? Anyway, we have a list. We prioritize them. We get our CEOs to work with the people in their organization to get buy-in from the person on the factory floor and the junior clerks on up through the president. And it takes about 2 months for that process to take place, and we come up with a set of goals and objectives. Now, and we go back and forth and we say, okay, this is reasonable, we set our priorities. If I, 3 years ago, was going to say, what should the president's objectives be in order to earn A, re-election, and B, a bonus, and I'd love to give the president a bonus. I'd be happy to give the president a $50 million bonus.
Logan, just answer the question.
Okay. I would set the following. Number one would be the economy and getting the economy to grow. Okay? And not at a paltry 1.5% over the next couple of years, but it's something that brings about real growth, which would be in the 3% plus range. On that, I'd have to give him a D. The next thing would be unemployment. Unemployment depends somewhat on growth, and on that, it's been as high as 9+%, but it's basically at 8.5% right now. Once again, a D. The next thing I'd have to look at is what happened to the budget deficit and our deficits, our annual deficits. And I'd have to look at, we are spending for the last 3 years, each and every year, we're spending about 30% more than we're taking in. In most companies, that would lead to bankruptcy, within a year or two. I'd have to give them an F on balancing the budget. The one place where I could be more positive is in his foreign policy with respect to what happened with Osama bin Laden. I'd give an A on that. In terms of winding down the war in Iraq, even though I would not have done it the same way, I probably would have given him a B. And pursuing the Afghan war, I'd probably give him a B. But the most important things would have been our economy and our government and unemployment, as government deficit and unemployment. And the overall would have to be an unacceptable C- or D for those areas.
But C- is a passing grade.
What's that?
C- is a passing grade.
No, C- or a D it may be a passing grade, but it doesn't give you honors. It doesn't get you. It doesn't get you promoted to the better class. It doesn't get you a bonus.
So, in your opinion, has the president earned re-election?
If he were running one of my companies, I'd be looking for somebody to replace him.
And what bonus based on the fact, Logan, that you've given the president a D on the economy, a D on unemployment, a F on balancing the budget, an A- on foreign policy, downgrading the war, B-, Afghan war, B-. What bonus would you give the president as you prepare his exit from the White House?
I would tell him that he owes the American people money. I would say that he had a responsibility to run our country fiscally responsible, and he utterly failed. And he should get 0, because if you can't be responsible with other people's money, then I can't see how you deserve any money yourself. And as a matter of fact, you should pay restitution. By the
Logan
way,
Delaney feels the president should pay restitution. Now listen,
I know that's not feasible, but under American law, by the way, American trust law, if a trustee does a very poor job in running a trust, he's expected, he can be expected to pay restitution. As a matter of fact, the president himself has, in setting up his financial rules and regulations, is trying to have the federal government go after a number of presidents and CEOs and senior executives of banking and other financial institutions to try to get them to pay restitution. So what I would say is, what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
You're listening to the guest commentator, Logan Delaney, who joins us every Wednesday at this time. And the question that we raised of him is whether or not President Barack Obama is deserving of 4 more years of the American people trust, whether he's earned re-election. Logan has failed the president. Logan has even said that the president owes the American people money, and the president should be required to pay restitution. Now, I think this is a very harsh assessment of the president. But I do respect Logan. I respect his opinion. But what we want to do is get other callers involved in this conversation. And it's not the challenge of maligning Logan, agree with Logan based on what he said. I want your opinion on how you would grade the president and whether he's deserving of a bonus. Randy and others, we see you. I'm Armstrong Williams. We'll be back.
Armstrong Williams returns in a moment.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933. Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Travelers along the road of life who have fallen asleep at the wheel, to the many who woke up in time to avert disaster and get back on the righteous path. For the ones who crashed and survived and now adhere vigilantly to a virtuous and righteous path. Finally, Armstrong Williams' much-anticipated new book, Reawakening Virtues, gives his insights into these daily challenges and much more. Reawakening Virtues is available in bookstores and at Amazon.com. For more information on The Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Madison Davis.
Renovations in homes built before 1978 can spread lead paint dust that's harmful to children. Don't let lead paint take away your child's future. For a lead-safe certified contractor in your area, call 1-800-424-LEAD.
If you have a question or comment for today's Armstrong Williams Show, call 733-5620. That's 733-5620. Call and be a part of today's Armstrong Williams Show on 620 AM, where knowledge is power.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
Our guest commentator, Logan, It's so good to have you back, have you walking and back to normal. The Lord is really blessing you, man. I just tell you, you have so much to be thankful for.
I really do. As a matter of fact, the other night I was sitting with two of my friends here, and we were toasting the new year and saying goodbye for the old year. Now I got to tell you that the three of us had a terrible 2011. One of my friends had a heart attack, another one had a prostate problem, I had my accident. And so, it was like good riddance to 2011. Now, the good news, too, is that two of us had grandchildren during that period. So, there was some good news in there, too. But I am looking forward to the future. I am very optimistic about America's future, by the way.
Well, let us do this. We've asked the question, how would you grade the president, whether or not he's deserving of 4 more years, and if you were to cast out a bonus based on the kind of bonuses that many of these CEOs are getting in this country, what would it be? Let's go to the eloquent, fair-minded, and it's becoming one of my favorite voices on the airways, Randy. Hello, Randy. How are you today?
What's up, Armstrong? What's up, Logan?
Hey, Randy. How are you?
Of course, I could disagree with you.
Hey, Randy, I said that because I knew you were going to call, and I had to give you something to get angry about. I had to provoke. I said, let me see how I can provoke you, Randy.
No, I'm not angry. I'm not angry.
Because it's your opinion.
You have the right to your opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is America, the home of the free, the land of the brave. Where Obama took out Bin Laden, Gaddafi, and a number of other people when Bush only talked about it. Passed over 300 bills that were obstructed by the Republican minority in the Senate. I give Obama B's all around, but I give him a D, but not D that should have been.
Now, Randy, wait a minute. You're breaking up on us. What was your grade?
B's all around. I don't give him an A on anything because he wasn't stern enough with the Republicans. He needed to be a little more stern with the Republicans.
And what kind of bonus would you give the president, if any?
He went. First of all, our president wouldn't take a bonus. Our president is trying to take a tax cut and give himself a tax cut. He's trying to give a tax cut to Logan and you to get your businesses out of China and bring them back home. But y'all want to keep making money overseas with that slave labor over in China, with no unionized. It ain't even a right to work over there in China. It's just they got people piled up like dorm rooms, feeding them bread and water, making them work 18 hours a day, and y'all putting labor over there, making your little change and making that little bread. Now, at least Obama's trying to talk about made in America again. I know the global economy and it'll be so bad, but I don't want to wake up in the morning and see a foreign country go down, and then I got to go down with them. The global economy, we got to do something to restructure our economy. That when Greece goes down, we don't go down with them. When any other country goes down financially, we get sucked into the vortex and go down with them. That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. So you could be running a great country, moving along, and another country messes up, and he'll get it's crazy.
Well, Randy, thank you for sharing that with us. We have tons of callers that want to get in on grading the president, making a determination. If you were grading the president, is he deserving of 4 more years? And if you were giving out a bonus to our CEO, what would that bonus be? Will, thank you for your patience. You're on with Armstrong Williams and Logan Delaney. Go ahead.
Thank you very much for taking my call. I'm not quite sure I could give the president a grade. I will say this. I know he took over an economy that was bleeding, if you will, and I think the only thing that was really asked of him to do in his first term was just to stop the bleeding. Not necessarily resuscitate the patient, the economy, but just stop the bleeding. And it appears to me, I think the economic situation will dictate this. The bleeding's getting worse. He seems to me to have surrounded himself by a bunch of ideologues who don't know what the heck they're doing. And he himself didn't have the experience to begin with. But, I'll cut him some slack on that. Not all presidents have all the in every field in the world. When when they take office, but they at least are smart enough to surround themselves with people that do have experience in various fields, which this president has not surrounded himself basically with. I don't see that changing. If the president would have had his way, he would have eliminated the Bush tax cuts, which would have meant capital gains would have went up. 50% of Americans that aren't paying taxes now would have started paying taxes again. The child credit tax would have ceased to exist. You know, his ideology is a federally centralized, controlled a form of economics. That's just what he believes. You know, I don't hold him against his beliefs. I think they have been proven to be wrong time and time again. So therefore, no, I do not believe he deserves to be reelected. Certainly not to be compensated in any extra manner. I'm not going to grade him. He is what he is. People should have known what he is when they elected him, because his senatorial record was as plain as the nose on people's faces, but they loved the way he talked, like the way he spoke last night, and they believed that gibberish that was coming out of his mouth, which he meant very little of. And so therefore we are where we are. And, you know, if people want to keep high unemployment, if people want to see job stagnation, and people want to see the economy bleed even more profusely, reelect them. And you make your bed, sleep in it.
Is there anything that gives you any hope that the president can turn this around and that he may sort of turn away from the socialism that he has a tendency to embrace, like Europe?
Well, it's very difficult to change your core beliefs in all aspects of life. And I do not see, personally, I don't see where he's going to change his core beliefs on how he believes the government should be run enough that would translate into the economy making a significant turnaround. All the American people wanted the president to do was stop the bleeding. They would have given him a second term to resuscitate the patient. But the bleeding, and I think it's obvious with anybody that is objective could see that the economy is in terrible shape, much worse shape than when he took over. Granted, the train was moving in the wrong direction, so it's going to take a little time to stop the train. Nobody expected him to turn it around. But the train should have been stopped by now, and it's not. And, therefore, let people make their choices based on nice talk or numbers. And if people want to reelect the president because he has a beautiful way of articulating stuff he doesn't believe in, then go vote for him.
Well, Will, thank you for calling and thank you for your honesty, and it's much appreciated. Let's move this right along. I am just telling you, people are being really objective, and their responses are very substantive and very eloquent. This is what freedom is about. Let's go to Reverend Spry. Reverend Spry, your thoughts on the question whether or not the president is deserving of 4 more years? Would you give him another shot to continue what he started? And if you were giving the president a bonus, what would it be?
How you doing, Armstrong, and to your guests? How you doing? On this beautiful day in South Carolina, the weather is great, and I thank God for it. Politics is terrible, but hey, the weather is great, and God has blessed us with it. On the president, yes, sir, I'll give him another 4 terms, another 4 years, and matter of fact, I'll be out there working for him. Sure will. I love my president. I think he's done a marvelous job. He has stopped the bleeding, as your previous caller talked about bleeding. We were losing 700,000 jobs a month. So he stopped that, and the economy is getting better. It shows that we're down to about 8% unemployment, down from the 10%. So there's just some good increases there. GM is the number 1 automaker in the world now because of the bailout and the help that was given to them, and they were able to turn it around. Now they're the number one automaker in the world, so that's a plus. Also, my daughter, which was kicked off of my health care program, and thank God for, as y'all call it, Obamacare. I'm just as excited and thankful and grateful to God that we have it, first time in history. But my daughter was kicked off of health care at 21, and she was able to get back on my health care and be in college, and I'm more than happy that she has one of my insurance cards, and she can go to the hospital, the doctor, she can go wherever she wants at $20 copay. And I'm so excited about that because she was kicked off, and I would have had to been shelling out that money while she was in college, a lot of money for her to go if there was a sickness or ailments. And she's had some sickness, but thank God she's doing great now. And I'd like to thank President Obama for making a way that she can be on my great health care that I have on my job. So he's done a lot of great things that the Democrats don't tend to show and invest in having talk shows and get on there and just lay out all the things except for MSNBC from 7 o'clock to 9, 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. I watch it religiously. They're about the only one that really puts out all the great things that President
on that note,
done.
On that note, Reverend Sprott, let us go to break. Thank you so much for your comments. Joel JR69 says the answer is no. What's amazing is that black folks still can't see the shortcomings in this man, mainly because he's black. Love him because he's black. Talking points. General Motors is not, and that caller has no evidence of such. Once again, people are repeating something they want to believe. Don't thank President Obama for your daughter's health care. Thank the taxpayers. Armstrong Williams, Mike, and others, we see you. Logan Delaney. It's hot today on the Armstrong Williams Show. How would you grade the president? Is he deserving of 4 more years? What bonus would you dole out to him? We'll be back.
Armstrong Williams returns in a moment.
High Point University has experienced unprecedented growth during the worst economic disruption in decades. This growth is driven by a university that focuses on holistic education, on experiential learning, and on values-based living. At High Point University, every student receives an extraordinary education in an inspiring environment with caring people. See what makes High Point University extraordinary at highpoint.edu.
My name is Meera Batra. I have been in this country 32 years, and this is how I live united. America has always been the land of promise, and in my community, many families have come for a better life. Coming from another culture myself, I know the desire to become part of a community, to feel at home, and to gain the tools for our children and families to succeed. So I advocate for these families with United Way. United Way empowers them to look beyond their histories and to see what opportunities are available. We help them get involved with their kids' schools, network within the community, and when we do, we unite them. We make the community stronger. What I do is something I wish someone had done for me, and I am so grateful I am able to. My name is Meera Batra. I help families see opportunities and succeed. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Amanda, age 3. Carlos, age 9.
An abducted child is everyone's child.
Jada, age 14.
To get free Amber Alerts on your cell phone, go to wirelessamberalerts.org. A child is calling for help. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
If you have a question or comment for today's Armstrong Williams Show, call 733-5620. That's 733-5620. Call and be a part of today's Armstrong Williams Show on 620 AM, where knowledge is power.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
And welcome back. Boy, this is unusual. Our live stream is loaded, and I haven't given out the address yet, which is www.livestream.com/Armstrong Williams. President Obama is being given his grading score after his State of the Union. Listeners have been asked to respond as to whether or not the president has earned 4 more years in the White House and whether he's deserving of a bonus. Logan, we're going to take another call, and then we're going to come back to you and respond on everything that we've heard thus far. Mike, you have a comment, and thank you for your patience. Go ahead.
Yeah, Armstrong, I would give President Obama 4 more years. And the reason why is because, really, Armstrong, I don't have another choice. I make a deal with the caller before, Reverend Spry. If he was to give me a reasonable choice to choose from, maybe I will vote for someone other than President Obama. I'm not a President Obama cheerleader, but I think he's doing a good job with the cards that he's been dealt, and I don't think he's a bad person. And I just think, like I said, the caller before, Reverend Spry, I just think he's a bigot, Armstrong. I mean, what's clear as the nose on your face is that you can't trust Newt Gingrich. If you look at his history, you can't trust him. He cheated on his wife. Not only did he cheat on his wife, but he cheated on them when they were down and out. He kicked them when they were down and out. Mitt Romney, he flip-flopping everywhere. I mean, how can you trust? I mean, that's not an option for me. And then right now, I'm going to earn some of other people's money, as Santorum would say. That's what I'm doing. I'm here to earn I'm trying to get some other people's money. So anyway, if he was to give me a reasonable choice, then I probably would consider voting for someone other than President Obama. Like I said, Obama has done some things that I don't necessarily agree with, but I don't have a choice.
You always have a choice. I mean, that is not true. Your choice is that you feel the president is deserving of 4 more years. Now, someone just on the live stream said that black unemployment is still close to 16% and gasoline is sky high. The price of food is ridiculous. Listen, I respect your right to want to reelect President Obama. If that's the way you feel, you should go out and do everything in your might to make that possible. Because what you value as a president and what you see as important is not necessarily what a Logan or someone like myself will see. But you know what? The main thing is that you follow the body politic, you study the issues, and for where you are, President Barack Obama really works for you. Now, it is interesting to me because I don't know if we have any lower income individuals that listen to this show. I think this is a very affluent audience, a very middle-class audience. So I don't think someone can really tell me who has less not or less as whether or not the president's policies has impacted in any significant way. Logan, did you want to respond to Mike before we say goodbye to him?
No, what I have to say to Mike is that without defending Gingrich or Romney or Santorum or Rand Paul, they are presenting a different alternative, all 4 of them, to the president philosophically. And I think that the difference philosophically is that the Republicans say, okay, individuals have to be responsible. We cannot depend as individuals on the government to make decisions on how we run our lives, what we should give to the government or have the government take from us. Whereas Obama and the liberal Democrats, and not all Democrats, but the liberal Democrats, see a Western European socialist or social welfare state vision for America. And unfortunately, there's never been great wealth created by any society that's been controlled and run by the government. Whereas the situation for us as America, where we've had small government, less government intervention, has resulted in great wealth historically for this country. Now, have there been bumps and bruises? Absolutely. But I think over the long run, it's done well for us. So I think one has 2 different visions now that, in terms of the 2 parties. The other thing that I was going to say is, with respect to somebody's moral standing, whether they cheat on their wives, if I had to add up, since Roosevelt, the number of presidents that cheated on their wives, I think we'd be left with 2 presidents. One Democrat, Jimmy Carter, and one Republican, Bush.
Which Bush?
That's a good question. That's a very good question.
So
I was
which
going to
Bush?
say George Bush, the second George Bush.
Yeah. Look, I think Obama's faithful to his wife. I think she's crushing.
I don't know anything about Obama. All I'm saying is, historically, before Obama.
Okay.
You know, I mean, our American presidents have a very, from the point of view of morality, if that's important to you, have a very poor record on having extramarital affairs.
But Armstrong, let me say this last thing, then I'll go ahead and get off the phone. Armstrong, you seem to take everything I say literally. The other day I called in and said I won't vote for Newt Gingrich even if he's running against Satan. Come on, Armstrong. I was using hyperbole. Just like when I just said I don't have another choice. Of course I have another choice, but I'm saying in my mind, Armstrong, I'm not about to vote for one of these other guys because of their moral shortcomings. And that's all I was saying.
Okay, fair enough. And thank you for saying it. What's so hypocritical about minorities dissing Gingrich is that they didn't have a problem with Bill Clinton cheating on his spouse. This is an embarrassing
nor Jack Kennedy cheating on his spouse.
Listen.
And Lyndon Johnson cheated so many times on his spouse, they didn't know which mistress to bring up.
Wow. Listen. Logan, go ahead.
Go ahead, Armstrong.
The
other thing I was going to say, I thought ironic about Reverend Spry, is that he was singing hosannas to the GM bailout, yet I've heard him criticize the government for doing bailouts of Wall Street. You can't bail out one sector of the economy and not bail out another sector of the economy and be consistent here. Is GM more deserving than Goldman Sachs or Lehman Brothers? They both employ a lot of people. They both bring income into the American system. I happen to agree with Reverend Spry's former position that we shouldn't be bailing out big business in the American economy. I wish he had stayed consistent with it.
Listen, I respect President Obama. I think President Obama is a decent guy. I think the president's ideology and how he thinks philosophically is a lifetime of works. I think you cannot help but be influenced by your parents and your upbringing. I don't think that President Obama has much in common with most Americans in this country. I don't really think he understands who we are as Americans. Historically, I think it's a wonderful thing that President Barack Obama is president, because what it does to many young people and to the world, let them see that America is still that shining light on the hill for others to follow. Now, Logan said he would not hire the president as a CEO. I don't think the president, I think the president would be a lousy CEO, but given all his contacts and the brand that he brings with him, I certainly would hire the president as my CEO, because he would more than make up for it in terms of his star power and the enormous contacts and connections that he has around the world. He can bring in enough dough that he can create a little socialism where he can give things away with that brand name. So, Logan, I certainly would not say I would not hire the president. I think he would be a lousy CEO, but considering his branding, he would be an awesome asset to anyone's operation.
Well, he would be an awesome asset, perhaps if you're trying to target the Hollywood elite, he might be an awesome asset if you're talking about the crony capitalists. I think he would be wonderful as a consultant to the crony capitalists and the Hollywood elite, because they're not looking at the fundamentals of a well-managed, well-run operation. In the case of Hollywood, they're selling glitter, and the president's very good at that. And in the case of the crony capitalists, they're trying to abuse taxpayer money through the government. They're trying to get the taxpayers to subsidize various businesses. So of course, they want somebody like a President Obama to work for them. But I don't see that as being good for America or the economy. And ultimately, if your business depends on crony capitalism, that is government contracts and government contacts and connections, you don't have a very good business model long term, and it's certainly a business model that hurts America.
This is true. 733-5620, 1-866-620-6620. Listen, there's no question that the president's track record as a CEO is dismal, but you wouldn't know that unless you understood what it meant to be a CEO and what a CEO is responsible for and why some CEOs survive and thrive and pass along intergenerational wealth while others sometimes cease to exist. Listen, you have to be tough. You have to understand marketplaces. You've got to surround yourself by people who have been in the private sector, not people who have been in the public sector. When we come back, I would like to delve into a different topic. I want to really, Congresswoman Gifford retired today. I really want people to call in and salute her. And because, listen, what happened to her is such a tragedy. It was just such a tragedy, the price that these members pay, because they do serve us. You may not always like the results, but sometimes they put their lives and their livelihood on the line. I'm Armstrong Williams, Logan Delaney. We'll be back.
Armstrong Williams returns in a moment.
The Armstrong Williams Show.
Thursdays on the Armstrong Williams Show is David Bartlett with Visions and Values overseas in the Bahamas as we look at the international markets right here on WGCV. Don't miss it.
Every afternoon at 4 on 620 AM, where knowledge is power.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933. Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Travelers along the road of life who have fallen asleep at the wheel, to the many who woke up in time to avert disaster and get back on the righteous path. For the ones who crashed and survived and now adhere vigilantly to a virtuous and righteous path. Finally, Armstrong Williams' much-anticipated new book, Reawakening Virtues, gives his insights into these daily challenges and much more. Reawakening Virtues is available in bookstores and at Amazon.com. For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Teach me another one, Dad.
Okay. A chick in a car and a car won't go. That's the way to spell Chicago.
Take time to be a dad today. Learn more at fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
If you have a question or comment for today's Armstrong Williams Show, call 733-5620. That's 733-5620. Call and be a part of today's Armstrong Williams Show on 620 AM, where knowledge is power.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
And welcome back to the Armstrong Williams Show. Thank you so much for joining us. Logan, the president is going to be tough to defeat. You and I concur on that, right?
I think any incumbent president is tough to defeat. I mean, there's a certain amount. First of all, the president has the power of the incumbency, which lets him on primetime television for free for 2 hours to tell his story. he flies around in American jet, in Air Force One to various places, giving speeches and basically at taxpayer expense. He has the advantage of franking power, which is sending out postage basically free to the American people, explaining his policies. By the way, people in Congress have that same privilege. So there's so many advantages that the incumbency has, not to mention that when the president is regulating you, whether you like him or not, you make a contribution to his campaign. So I think, given the advantages that the incumbency has, this president it's not a shoo-in, even though there's a lot of dissatisfaction with where America is today, where our economy is today. It's just hard to defeat a sitting president.
Have you ever considered running?
Armstrong, I have considered running. I'd love to run for something like the President of the United States, but people wouldn't like me. And the reason they wouldn't like me is because I tend to tell things like it is. I'm incapable of sugarcoating things that are difficult. I mean, if I tell you, if I tell your listeners, as I have before, that one of the things holding back the development of the black community is that 72% of children are born out of wedlock, and people don't like that. If I tell you that the way to get a job, to get established in the business community and the and getting your first job is that maybe you got to take a job and you're not worth the minimum wage. You're worth $4 an hour because you don't have any skills and you're trying to learn it. People don't like that. But so and when I tell people that the U.S. government must live within its means, and living within its means that we have to reform things like Social Security, Medicare, and it means that there are going to be major hits to all people in America. People don't like that. So I would not like to be a politician where I'd have to sweetcoat things and where I'd have to lie to get elected. I don't care about their power. I'd like to help my country. And I don't think, I think the way you help the country at this point is that we have some very difficult things. We have to make some very hard decisions. And people are not going to like the fact that we need austerity to a certain extent in this country, and you just can't go on and ignore the austerity measures that we have to take.
You know what? I have to tell you, I actually think that you'd make an excellent president. I've known you for quite some time, and I don't take it lightly when you say that you've thought about it. And you know what? It's everyday people like you who run extraordinary businesses with principles and honor and integrity and substance and understand how this country works. It's just ordinary men that could come in and do a phenomenal job. I don't think you need to be some governor who have been elected to Congress and the Senate or the House or some ambassador. I think that's outrageous. I think the real people who are best suited for the presidency are never those who have been elected to office.
Well, they don't make it easy for non-politicians to become politicians. I mean, if you are successful, everybody I know who's successful has a skeleton or two in their closet. Whether it's something they've done, something their members of their families have done. Take a look at a Romney. I mean, he's as clean as a houndstooth. Morality. Yet people are criticizing him for paying the legal tax rate on his income taxes because he was smart enough and clever enough to structure his compensation so that it had the minimum tax rate. I bet you every person in America wishes they were as smart as Romney to be able to restructure their income so that they had to pay 15% tax.
I don't understand why people would just be upset with him. I mean, he is someone to celebrate, really.
Yeah, I mean, the guy has, he has a great family. his religion may not be the kind of Christianity that most Americans are, but every Mormon I know is, believes strongly in God. They have very strong families. They work hard. They're a pleasure to do business with. I have several of them on my in my management. I have nothing bad to say about the Mormons I've dealt with, but there are a lot of people who say, "Wait, it's not our religion. Can we trust them?" Well, here's
Logan,
a guy that
I think people would be shocked to know that you are just as successful as a Mitt Romney. He gets a lot of play because he is talked about. He's running for president, but in terms of what you've done, in terms of the market and finances and growing businesses, I mean, people would be amazed at just what you've contributed to the world as a business owner. And I got to tell you, and that is deserving much respect because that is not easy.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for that compliment. I'm not nearly as rich as Mitt, but I'm, certainly, well in the 1%, and I've done very well for myself financially. But, I run a business because when I was growing up, I always admired people who could run their own business and who made something of their lives and did the best they could, provided jobs for the people. To me, that was something to admire. I've become a little distressed as I'm now in my 60s. I look at a number of Americans where we have what I'll call the envy syndrome, where people who started out with nothing did what they were supposed to do. Now we're finding that there are a lot of Americans who'd like to take it away from them. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. They made money, they provided for their families, they contributed to their churches and their charities, they provided jobs for other people, and now there are a lot of Americans, including the President of the United States, who says, let's take it away from them. I was having lunch the other day with one of my very good friends, who was my former liberal Democratic congressman, and he was saying, Logan, I think we should be paying more taxes. And I said, well, Peter, his name is Peter Pizer, I said, Peter, what do you mean we should be paying more taxes? We are in New York State, which is where this conversation was taking place and where he used to be my congressman. I said, in New York State, do you think most of my money should go to the government? Most of the money I earn should go to the government? And Peter said, no. I said, well, wait a minute, Peter. I pay 35% ordinary income tax rate in New York, 10% state income tax rate. That's 45%. I then have Social Security, which is about 13%. Then I have my sales tax in New York, which is about 9%, 8 or 9%. And then I pay a huge real estate taxes and a bunch of other miscellaneous taxes. Now, to me, most is more than 50%. And when I lived in New York State, most of my income went to taxes. To me, that's not right.
Let me raise something with you before we go. The Federal Reserve forecast that rates could stay extremely low for another 3 years, provides juice for risk assets like stocks, but signals more worries ahead for the economy. Why, Logan?
Well, I don't always agree with the Federal Reserve. I think there's a natural interest rate which probably should be higher than the low interest rates that the Federal Reserve are proposing right now. There's a lot of damage with low interest rates, and the biggest damage is that people don't save money. I mean, if you have the choice of putting $1,000 a month into the bank, and all you're going to get out of it at the end of the year is 20 basis points, which is like $20. You are foregoing spending $1,000 for the year, and you're only going to get $20 for it. You got to scratch your head and say, why the hell am I saving money? Yet on the other hand, the United States needs people to save money. They need people to invest, and the low interest rates proposed by the Fed are damaging that. The other group that they're damaging are senior citizens who are saved for a lifetime, 40, 50, 60 years. Historically, they've gotten 4 or 5% of their money on their money, and now they're getting less than 1%. That means, think of how much their income has been cut by the Fed playing with these rates. So having low rates has really been a transfer of income from people who save and pensioners to people who borrow. And we always say, the borrowing has really one of the things that caused the bust in our society. I find there's a certain irony that we want to basically subsidize the kind of behavior that leads to bust in the cycle and cause some of the financial problems. The other thing that the Fed is doing is that by keeping interest rates low, it makes it very inexpensive for the U.S. government to borrow, and therefore there's much less of a penalty for the U.S. government to run deficits because they don't have to pay the market rate.
Logan, there's never enough time with you. Vivian, I'm sorry. I got carried away listening to Logan. I didn't get to you. Thank you. Logan, thank you for joining us. Remember, the show repeats at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sirius Power 128. Just go to www.livestream.com/Armstrong Williams.
Hello, everyone. This is Armstrong Williams on the right side. Don't curse, speak English. Virtuous society. I dare you to listen. Hey, turn it up. Hey, get on the right side. Elevate your mind. I'm Armstrong Williams on the right side.
Yo, man, it's your boy K.O. And you're tuned in to the most conservative of our brothers.
The Armstrong Williams Show. Please give me a break. Grow up.
The views and opinions expressed on this broadcast are not necessarily